Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I am Allison Foss, and I am the director of the Myasthenia Gravis Association. We are joined today by Blaise Huck. Blaise is working with us this fall on her capstone project as she completes her third year of occupational therapy school at Rockhurst University. Blaise has a special interest of myasthenia gravis, with her mom being diagnosed with MG when she was in high school. Today, Blaise is going to share with us some simple daily living tips and tricks to make life a little easier. Blaise, I'll let you take it away.
Thank you, Allison. I'm just going to be going over how occupational therapy might benefit those who have MG. Um, okay, first I'm just going to talk about what occupational therapy is, and then I'll go into some tips and tricks. Occupational therapy aims to address your participation in your daily life activities. These could be activities of daily living, instrumental activities of daily living, work, leisure, or social participation, and could be done through energy conservation techniques, environmental modifications, exercise, or adaptive equipment. OTs aim to address an individual's needs and your individual needs and what is important to you specifically. Now I'm just going to talk about what activity of daily living is versus what instrumental activities of daily living. Um, Activities of daily living are activities that are geared towards taking care of your own body and are completed daily. They can include things like brushing your teeth, bathing, showering, toileting, or dressing, or feeding. Instrumental activities of daily living help to support your daily life within the home or community. And these could include things like driving, your finances, meal preparation, caring for your family, or caring for your pets. Oh. Since fatigue is a big contributing factor in quality of life for those who have MG, I just want to go over some energy conservation techniques with you. These can include prioritizing. And what I would do for this would I'd have you write down everything you needed to do or whatever you wanted to complete for that week. And then I'd want you to rewrite that list into what is most important to you to be able to complete. And then I'd want you to take those activities and then help to plan, use those activities to help you plan for your week. Um, I feel like planning for the week allows for a little bit more fluctuation because if you are fatigued one day, then you could either move an easier task forward and be able to complete that task that day and then move the more difficult task later on, or you could even just move your whole week back. Um, and that's just one way you could help with uh to combat your fatigue and be able to still complete the things you want to complete. One way, and then also I'd want you to plan for rest breaks. This could include like I'm gonna work for 15 minutes on dishes and then I'm gonna rest for 5 to 10 minutes. If you fatigue within like 30 minutes, maybe you do that and like do the 15-minute break. You could plan your rest breaks based on how long you usually last with working on something and just like make sure that you're resting before you fatigue that way. And then I would also want you to pace yourself also though. So if you plan on working on it for 15 minutes, I don't want you to try to rush through that task. I'd want you to pace yourself and don't like race through it because that'll cause you to fatigue quicker. And then also you could think about your positioning. So if you had a stool you could sit on while you're doing it, that would be something that could help you combat fatigue as well. And then, but I would also want you to try to avoid this hunched over posture because that would put more stress on the muscles and that also could cause you to fatigue quicker. And then don't be afraid to use adaptive equipment. Um, I will go over some more of these later, but adaptive equipment can also help you combat your fatigue and help you last longer. Some ways you can modify your environment to be helpful for you and help you complete tasks easier. One way you could do that is keeping items, like in the kitchen, keeping items at chest height that you frequently use so that you're not having to reach overhead or bend over a lot and then having to lift heavy objects. One thing you could think about is putting a crock pot on the table so that you're not having, especially if you use that a lot more. So that way you're not having to lift that heavy crock pot from higher up all the time or from lower. It's just there and ready for you to be able to use. And then reduce the clutter in your household, and this can be beneficial for helping to prevent falls. And then also, if you have rugs, either you could remove them or get like sticky tape, and I'll talk more about this later and show you what that sticky tape looks like. But just to like keep yourself from tripping over the rugs, or those rugs with like the rubber bottoms would be really good too. Um, and then you could also use night lights. I know a lot of people, or that way you're not navigating at night when it's really dark. There's actually some motion detector night lights that would allow you to keep it dark at night, but also help you in the middle of the night if you have to get up and go to the bathroom. That way you're not like messing up your sleep schedule or sleep as well. Another way you can modify your environment is by installing a ramp, especially if you have a hard time navigating, walking up and going downstairs. Um, it just would allow you to have something there if you have a day where you're more off and you can't walk up the stairs and you're nervous about falling because of that. And then lastly, you could also install long handles for doors. Sometimes those doors, I know for my mom, those turning doors and turning knobs and trying to open is can be more difficult if you have fatigue in your hands or muscle weakness in your hands. So installing handles like that, or installing lever handles like the one shown up here in the top picture, is easier because you could just put your hand on it and you could push down versus having to twist it. You could also do that in your kitchen too, instead of little knobs. If you have those longer handles, it's just easier to open. Um, Ways you can modify your bathroom would be, if possible, you could do a walk-in shower. Um, that way you don't have to get over that huge lip of the tub. Or you could do a shower bench or tub bench. Now you could do this, which is just a little bit more cheaper version, but you can just sit on the edge here and then put one leg over and then the other leg over, and you can just slide in. And that just is helpful to prevent falls. And if you're really fatigued, you get off day to be able to get in and out. And then if you have that, it'd be nice to also have a detachable shower head. That way you can sit and be able to pull it off and actually be able to aim the water a little easier. Installing grab bars is another good way to help you get in and out of the shower, get on and off the toilet. Um, and especially if you can't, especially if you're more fatigued that day. And then you could also get a raised toilet seat, like this top right picture, if you have a hard time getting on and off the toilet because of weakness in your legs. Or another thing is actually something my mom told me to put on here, but is a bidet. And that is helpful if you're really fatigued and you have a hard time reaching, you can use a bidet to just help you do that toilet hygiene. I would also recommend a non-slip mat in the bathtub, just to, again, help with preventing falls and it just makes things easier. Adaptive equipment are tools that can help you participate in your daily life activities with ease. Um, some examples of these would include like build-up handles. And shown in this bottom left picture, there's actually foam tubes that can help do this without having to buy a bunch of new things, new markers or spoons with build-up handles. You could just get these foam tubes and be able to put it on several different things just to help you like grasp onto items easier. And then you could also get an electric can opener, kind of like shown in this bottom right picture. That can also be helpful if you have weakness in your hands. If you have double vision or weakness, pampered chef chopper can be helpful or a food processor. So that way you don't have to like cut your food yourself. That could be helpful for both double vision or just weakness in your hands and just help you be able to prepare food. And just another helpful tool. A rolling cart can also be helpful. This could be helpful for getting groceries out of the car. It could be helpful for laundry. I mean, that way you're not having to either make multiple trips or carry heavy items. And just another really good tool that could be used. And of course, I know that if you have a hard time with medication, like managing your medication, another great thing you could get is this top right picture. There's this medication manager. Um, it actually has morning, evening, and night. That way can, that way you know if you're taking your medication, and that way you can organize it beforehand. So that way you're not double dosing or under dosing with medication. And there's several options for that you could use if you look it up on Amazon or anything like that. Oh, one second, sorry. Okay, there you go. There's actually also this electric can opener my mom actually had used. This one can expand or get smaller based on the size of the or jar opener, sorry, based on the size of the jar. And it just allows you to be able to open those and um, when you don't have that strength at that time. And that's the same thing. We have this can opener again, another example of that. That is smaller if you don't want a huge electric can opener on your table. This one could just be stored in your silverware drawer or anything like that. And then as well as we have this bottle openers that help you grip on the different sizes of bottles if you have a hard time opening like a water bottle or anything like that. Another thing, oh, whoops. Another thing you could use is this reacher. I know you've all heard of reachers before, but there's different versions of reachers. This one's actually bigger and probably has a little bit more grip on the end of it that actually allows you to lift up and grab like a can out of the kitchen if you don't have the ability to like lift your arms over your head for a long time, and also keeps you from having to get up and down off on and off a stool a lot, which can sometimes be scary if you um, don't have the strength to do that. And then we also have this little coffee pour, which I thought was kind of cool, or water. You could put whatever in there, tea. But I thought that would be nice because it just allows you to lift that and not have to worry about spilling it on yourself or um, making a mess because it's just hard to hold. And then we also have these things again, it's kind of like the foam tubes that can go on multiple different tools that you can just put your hand in, and it's just nice because you don't have to buy a bunch of different things you don't have to buy new build up handles for everything. You can just buy one of these, and on days that you can't hold on to something, maybe that's what you would want to use to help you complete whatever you're doing. There's also these coffee mugs that you can have two hands on that just allows you to have a better grasp on it and be able to drink out of the cup without worrying about spilling. But you also could just get a non-spillable water bottle if you look that up, or a coffee mug, because I know that my mom has a coffee mug bought a coffee mug because she wasn't going to spill it easy and it was easy to open. And then you also have these pot stirrers, which I think would be nice because I know that if you're going like this for a long period of time, if you have something that you have to cook that you have to stir, that after a while that could cause you to fatigue pretty quickly. I actually have this in the bottom left corner. It's a long-handled broom and dustpan, and I just thought when I was sweeping one day, I just thought that that would be great for someone with a chronic illness or MG or anything like that because you don't have to bend down and hold the dustpan to sweep it up. There's also electric kind of dustpan deals too, but that'd just be a little bit more money. It really just depends on what really works for you and what you think would be best. Different adaptive equipment for dressing would include like this button loop, and it actually has a bigger handle on it. So that way you're not having to try to hold on to that tiny button and put it in through the hole. This is actually a OT thing that we use for a lot of different people. But I think if you wanted to have a button-up shirt, if you wanted to wear those and you're having a hard time getting that button through that hole, that would be something that would be really good. And then you have the zipper with a little loop in it. You could just hook your finger in it and be able to zip up or zip down your clothing. And then if you also just don't want to deal with that at all, you could get these magnetic button-up shirts. And if you just look up magnetic adaptive clothing, that would pop up for you online. So you could be able to buy that. And again, this is something OTs use a lot, is this sock aid. There's a lot of people who just stop putting on socks because it just comes easier. I know that's kind of what my mom did, but you could also get this sock aid where you could slip it up the white part of it, and then you can just drop it to the floor and then put your foot into it and just pull it up. And that is just another way, if you wanted to wear socks and you haven't been able to, something you could get that could be helpful. Again, here's some self-care adaptive equipment. I just found some of these on Amazon, but there's these little feet washers if you can't bend down to be able to wash your feet, if you want to be able to do that. And then also back washer that you can just stick to the wall and be able to wash your back. And then something that my mom had a hard time with is squeezing a toothpaste tube. So there's this electric toothpaste squeezer that would help you be able to brush your teeth or get the toothpaste out yourself. And then of course there's a long-handled sponge, which I think is great if you can't bend over to get your legs. You can use a long-handled sponge, or you could use it on your back. All this stuff is really what works best for you and what you like and what you feel like you need. There's also long-handled brushes. If you have a hard time holding your arms above your head for a long period of time, you could even just put your arms on the table and take that long-handled brush and try to work it down that way so you don't have to hold your arms up while you're brushing your hair too. Again, you have those things where you can just slide your hands in to be able to brush your hair, brush your teeth. It's nice. You can use it for so many different things, and you don't have to buy a bunch of different things to be able to do that. And of course, whoops, then you have this toilet hygiene brush. Basically, you can just shove the toilet paper in between the little top blue part, and it allows you to not have to reach behind you. I know when you're fatigued, sometimes that can be hard. So it just allows you to complete your toilet hygiene care easier. I know that a lot of people who have MG are either afraid of falling or have fallen before. Here are just some things that you could make adjustments, whether it be in your house or um, what shoes you're wearing or anything like that. One thing could be reducing clutter in your house and just to prevent you from tripping over something or anything like that. But this could also include ensuring that like your living room doesn't have anything really blocking your walkway and just having it as open as you can. Just that way you're not having to navigate around things as much. And then, of course, like I said earlier, night lights are good for in the middle of the night if you have to use the restroom, but also just having a lot of lights in general in your house so that you're not um, shadowing. So there's no dark lighting, so that way you aren't as apt to falling. Of course, don't make it glaring light because that could be just as hard, especially if you do have double vision, but just enough lighting that like you aren't having to really work hard to see. And then also get rid of throw rugs or anchor them down, like I said earlier. In this top picture, these are actually sticky things that you can put on a rug to be able to place it down, and that way it makes it more likely that you aren't gonna kick it up or trip over it. Of course, like I said, grab bars in bathroom and around toilet is really good to help prevent falling. And then make sure you have handrails even outside on your stairs or upstairs um to go upstairs. And ensure that they're like sturdy, and because that is just another good thing to help prevent falling. And then, of course, don't be afraid to use adaptive equipment. This could be a cane or a walker just to help you either feel more confident getting around or actually prevent a fall. Closed-toe shoes with good support and textured bottoms are really um, good for preventing falls because if you have sandals on, you're walking around and your foot slips out, that's just another thing that could cause a fall, of course. And then if you're seated for a long period of time and you get dizzy a lot when you stand, just pause there and wait for a second before you feel steady to start walking. And then another good way or something just to help build up confidence as well is to practice getting up from a fall. This just helps again, like with confidence. It helps with um, you understand if you fall, how you can get up. Okay, now I'm just going to talk about exercise. Research shows that just getting up and doing your daily life activities helps to maintain and build muscle. But if you wanted to participate in exercise as directly related to preventing falls, I saw a lot of people like Tai Chi and yoga. My mom actually does like a 5-minute yoga deal where she exercises, and that is good for her. I mean, she's tried a little bit more, but starting off slower, like even just a 5-minute chair yoga exercise, is very good for those who have MG because I know that exercise also exacerbates those symptoms. So that is better to start off small than to go straight into something that you aren't sure if you're able to do. And then also exercise can also be helpful for stress reduction. And I've seen a lot of people say that a lot of research shows that stress helps exacerbate symptoms. So if exercise is something that you want to do for that reason, that'd be really good too. And then always remember, like I said, to meet yourself where you're at. And then even start lower than that if you're going to exercise. Here's some exercises that are specifically for fall prevention. There's a sit to stand. Um, and then there's like sideways walking, 10 steps each direction. There's also heel to toe standing, like it's shown in this bottom left picture. And then heel to toe walking, which is, I mean, it's kind of the same as this bottom picture. And then they say to do every other day, do side hip strengthening exercises. This is shown in the top left picture. Knee strengthening, which is the bottom right. And then heel raises, top right, and then toe raises is also top right. But these are exercises that they actually do a program for people who want to be able to prevent falls. And it's really nice because you can adjust these to wherever you're at. You can either hold on to the chair, you can let go and try to do it without holding on. You could add more sets or reps into it if you feel like you can do more. But it's nice because you can adjust it and meet yourself where you're at. Another thing I would encourage is doing some deep breathing exercises. This is one we actually did in school where you breathe in for 4 seconds, then you hold for 4 seconds, and then you breathe out for 4 seconds. This is something I actually do and it helps me a lot. So I would encourage you to do it if you can. But if you just find something every day that you feel like helps you and find that thing that de-stresses you and do that every single day because stress is a big indicator of symptoms and how you are feeling. So, all right. Thank you, everyone.